Well, hey there. You have stumbled into Sister Sharpens Sister, where three sisters get together each week and talk about first one thing and then another. Hi. I can't hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
There you are.
Okay. It was detecting the new camera, but not the new microphone, which is weird. All right. And let me move. Trying to do everything on one desk is like, what is Jenga? Is that the?
Huh?
What?
What is?
Oh, where you stack the blocks and you pull them out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like trying to get everything to fit on my desk. I have. Karen's not ready. She has an eyelash in her eyeball. There we
I
go.
was going to say, I have several eyelashes.
I was making a distinction because that thought went through my head as well. I was like, yeah, Karen, you have several. All right. Welcome to Sister Sharpens Sister. My name is Karen. You will see Delina and Shalon if you are watching us. And if you are listening, then I guess you will hear them. Hey, that's a good segue into our topic. Because we're talking about sound and music. Last week, we talked about what it was. And what else did we talk about last week? Pretty much just what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind of to define music therapy, sound therapy, music healing, sound healing. Yeah.
What the differences were. Well, this week we're going to get into a little bit of the history of sound and music therapy. We're going to talk about ancient uses of sound, pull in some biblical references, and talk a little bit about some Eastern Asian kind of sound and rhythm that people have been using to, well, for a myriad of different things since probably the first time somebody dropped something and it went boing. Let's start off with what the Bible says about music to begin with. All right. It should say a little bit of something to anybody that reads the Christian Bible, that the longest book in the 66 books is actually a song book.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're talking about verses or books.
Books, yeah.
Talking about words, there's another one that's longer. I forget what it was.
Isaiah, maybe?
Isaiah? Yeah.
More than 7% of the Old Testament is in Psalms. Right? In the New Testament, you'll see references in Revelation 5, 7, and 15 that recorded song lyrics as well. Matthew 26 talks about Jesus and the disciples singing after the conclusion of the Last Supper. You'll also see it in Acts 16, where the disciples were recorded to have been singing in the first church. And some believe that Mary, the mother of Jesus, to have sung her words in Luke 1, 46 through 55, in her response to Elizabeth's blessing. And that is actually called the Song of Mary, or Mary's Magnificat. And I thought, oh, that's so cool. There's also singing in the angel's announcement of the birth of Christ in Luke 2. In Ephesians 5, the church is commanded to communicate with each other through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit. So, do you know where the first reference to a musician in the Bible is?
I know the first reference to a song, Genesis 31:27.
The first reference to a musician is in Genesis 4:21, talking about Jubal. the fourth generation from Adam through the lineage of Cain.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
He is recorded as the father of all who play the lyre and pipe.
Yep. Yep.
Other references to musicians include Exodus 15. We're talking about Moses and the Israelites singing after the victory when the Red Sea came in and took care of the Egyptian army. And at that time, Miriam, Moses' sister, led the women with tambourines and dancing as she sang. David's victories were also celebrated in song in 1 Samuel. And two old-time figures, Moses and David, were musicians. Moses is recorded as having had 3 songs in Exodus 15 that we just mentioned, Deuteronomy 32, and Psalm 90. David is referred to as the sweet psalmist of Israel in 2 Samuel 23, and is credited with about half of the 150 songs in Psalms, along with other historical literature that records ancient Hebrew history. He was the official musician in Saul's court, and one of the most memorable things that I can remember from that is when King Saul would be, I forget how it was worded, beset by demons or something like that.
Yeah, and it came to pass when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul that David took a harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him.
Yeah.
I pulled that one out too. 1 Samuel 16:23.
Chills. I've got chills.
I pulled that out too because that was healing.
Yes. Yeah, not just, that wasn't physical healing, that was spiritual, psychological healing. During his reign as king, David, I'm talking about now, he organized the Levitical musicians. And in 1 Chronicles 15 and 1 Chronicles 23, it's recorded that more than 1 in 10 Levites in the temple service were musicians because of David. Other musicians included Asaph, the sons of Korah, Solomon, Heman, and Ethan, and I'll put those links to those, or I will list those biblical verses in the show notes. Music was used in all sorts of activities. It was used in coronations, in the royal court, events and festivals. It's also been said that that there is an important connection, like people who smarter than me who have studied music in the Bible said that it's important to note the connection between music and the supernatural. One of them being David playing for Saul to get rid of the demonic spirits or the evil spirit. And the other one is one that we touched upon before, is the trumpets at Jericho. Now, in the New Testament, there are 2 gospels that mention Jesus and the disciples singing, and that's Matthew 26 and Mark 14. And the gospels also record music as part of mourning in Matthew 9 and as celebration in Luke 15. And Paul gives instructions about music during gatherings in the Ephesus church in chapter 5 and in Colossians chapter 3. In Ephesus 5, he talks about addressing one another with hymns and songs as an indication of being spirit-filled. And when I read that, the first thing I thought of was what we mentioned last week with Gemma singing all the time.
All the time. Girl is spirit-filled.
Colossians 3, the same as an indication of being filled with the word of Christ, then that songs come from the Spirit. And James 5:13 says that if anyone is cheerful, let him sing praise. So that's what I have as far as biblical references.
Well, you put out more references than I did, but I did have some of the same things you had. I just didn't pull out as many. Yeah,
I'll provide links to the resources that I used to get that information if anybody's interested in going back and looking it up.
Cite that the first known culture to heal with sound are the Aboriginal people of Australia.
I can see that.
Okay, and according to this website, for at least 40,000 years, and I know I'm going to butcher this, The didgeridoo
Yeah,
has
that's
been
right.
used as a healing tool. The
That's correct.
Aborigines, they healed broken bones, muscle tears, other kinds of illness using this enigmatic musical instrument. And that's whenever you think of Australia and you think of the weird sounding musical instrument, that's it. And I've got a sample of it.
I was gonna say if anybody's unfamiliar with that instrument, then just watch Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had no idea that according to this website I went to that it's been used way before anything else. And it's an actual musical instrument.
Yeah.
It's not, rain or something.
I was gonna say is
Oh,
y'all are very research oriented. So I figured whatever I was gonna look up was gonna duplicate what y'all already are doing. So I kind of, when I was looking up the history of music therapy is what I looked up. And I did find that the first university to offer a certification in music therapy was Columbia University, and that was back in 1919.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Back
And
that far.
then I don't know, I just got to thinking, I was like, where am I bombarded with music that I don't really think of?
Grocery store.
I thought of an elevator.
Elevators, yeah.
Elevator. I thought elevator too.
Yeah. So I actually kind of went off on a little branch of the history of that
Mm-hmm.
and found that it was originally done for people in factories to get them to work better.
Wow.
Yeah, to stimulate, the production of work that they would do. And
Yeah, the work song.
It would be in 15-minute increments.
Mm-hmm.
And it would get faster and faster and faster, the pace would get. And then they would be silenced for a little bit so there wasn't an overload.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took that into like grocery stores, malls,
Restaurants.
elevators, and lifts, because when they first came about, it was a strange thing and people had a lot of stress inside them. So they would use the music to calm everybody down.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought that was interesting because, like, you don't think about the music that you hear when you're shopping as a way to get you to slow down and get you to spend more time in the store so that you buy more.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what they're doing.
Dee Dee said work music, and the first thing that popped in my head was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's what I did. I looked that up and I learned that. I thought that was interesting that in the
That
early
is very
1900s,
interesting.
we did have our first university to offer that as a degree. And it
Mm-hmm.
was originally used for veterans of World War One
Mm-hmm.
to help with their physical and their mental disabilities that they were experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a little bit of research on that too. And it was after that, whenever people would come in and play for the veterans, it was after that they discovered they needed to actually make it something where people needed an education for it. Not just anybody and everybody who could do music coming in and doing it. They actually made it a little more
Scientific.
structured, I guess.
Structured, scientific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was in the 1920s that music started being brought into our hospitals.
Yes. Now, I also found that interest in music therapy continued to gain support during the early 1900s, leading to the formation of several short-lived associations. In 1903, Ava Augusta Vesalius founded the National Society of Musical Therapeutics. In 1926, Isa Maud Ilson founded the National Association for Music in Hospitals. And in 1941, Harriet Ayer Seymour found the National Foundation of Music Therapy. And what I find interesting is that it wasn't until later when men got involved that it started being seen as something that was actually looked at and should be considered.
Yeah.
And those were all women, as you noticed.
Well,
Yeah.
of course a man would do that, because if a woman does it, it's considered witchcraft.
Well, the professor who taught at Columbia when they first started, her name was Margaret Anderton.
Mm-hmm.
Now, isn't it funny that she was also a woman?
She's a woman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Also, when I read about the music going into the hospitals, it made me think of when we were in North Carolina in that hospital visiting a family member, and every time a baby was born, they would play a little lullaby.
They did, yes.
I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. I just thought that was a bit of joy coming through, because our situation wasn't very joyful.
No.
Yeah.
And when we would hear that, it'd be like, oh, okay, that's a good thing that's happening right now.
Yeah. That leads a little credence to the phrase lifting your spirits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to think that music can do that is again, same as last week. This is just so enthralling for me.
It is. It is. I was all over the place when I was doing my research. I was everywhere.
Yeah,
So,
one of the things that I found when I was reading was that one of the ancient uses of sound, now this is not music, it's sound, was something that people have speculated called acoustic levitation.
I read a little bit about that, but then I'm like, nope, you're already off on way too many tangents. Don't go there. Maybe go there next week. So,
well, let me just read this little ditty here. I've got to find it. Let's see. Ancient cultures, and this is from a Google search that says ancient uses of sound. Ancient cultures also used sound for communication and levitation. And we mentioned last week, and it also mentions here, that Aristotle wrote that flute music could arouse strong emotions and purify the soul. There are also myths and legends relating to the movement of stone blocks using sound technology found amongst the Maya of Mexico and the Phoenicians of the Near East and in Tibet. And there is also something that, again, a tangent rabbit hole, one of the little strings that's attached to this subject. I ran into a word that I was not all that familiar with. Acoustic levitation, waves, and piezoelectricity. Have you ever heard that word?
Piezo.
Piezio. Piezoelectricity. There's a theory that ancient civilizations might have used acoustic levitation, which is the phenomenon where sound waves are utilized to counter the pull of gravity and levitate objects in order to move them. In acoustic levitation, sound waves interact with surfaces to create something called standing waves, which you can see on an oscilloscope, which could lead to levitation if oriented properly against gravity. The phenomenon is usually explained through the creation of standing waves using a device known as an acoustic levitator, which comprises a vibrating surface or a transducer and a reflector. A 10th century Arab historian by the name of, hope I get it right, Abu Hassan Ali al-Masudi. Okay. I mean, it looks like what I said. Wrote about ancient Egyptians possibly using sound to levitate and move massive stones. And he described a process where a magic papyrus, this is in quotes, magic papyrus, was placed under a stone, followed by striking the stone with a metal rod to initiate the levitation. The stone would then be, supposedly, moved along a specific path guided by metal poles to its intended location. What?
Interesting.
Right?
well, that explains how they moved all those big blocks to build pyramids.
It does.
Right.
If you're going to go with, like, was it ancient aliens or was it this? And where did this come from, right?
Yeah.
In 2013, researchers engineered a system that allowed precise control over levitated liquid droplets, hinting at the potential applications of acoustic levitation in modern technology and medicine. And I'm going to provide a link to this article, and there are two different pictures that they've added. One of them is a Celtic stone showing a tuning fork, a hammer, a sound focuser or an anvil, and a cymatic-like swirly pattern, or something like maybe you would see on an oscilloscope. And the second is of, let's see, Egyptian statue of Isis and Anubis, both holding U-shaped tuning forks. The two tuning forks are very similar to the ones that you see in the Celtic stone. That is wild. Piezoelectricity is a special property of some crystals, like quartz. Let's see, quartz and other crystals that are like that can create electricity when you squeeze, twist, or press them. And the effect goes both ways. If you apply electricity to those crystals, they can change their shape a little. Now, those crystals are used in things like watches, cell phones, the cameras that we're using.
My countertops in my kitchen, in my bathrooms.
You know, I would be curious to know.
They're quartz.
I know that you don't want to do this, but
what, bang it?
No, put electricity to it and see if you can notice it moving.
Oh yeah, no.
But again, just another thing for me to be completely fascinated about. Well, speaking of houses, I hope that we can get finished with this relatively quickly because we've got a showing to go to.
Okay.
Cool.
So Michael's gonna go look at another house in a little bit. And Arnie's rushing to get home from Ohio over the whole
Well,
day.
he needs to do some music therapy.
You know, he actually did a little bit of that last night, along with some other things. He and our youngest, Megan, got together and they were streaming, playing video games last night online. And one of the things he found that he really liked was that he uses this, it's an open source music that you can go to and you can download it and play it for videos and whatever you want. He listens to a certain genre in there, and I don't know what it is. I forgot to ask. And he was playing The Sims. And he was designing a house in The Sims, listening to this music. And he said, this is the first time I have not been stressed, and I can't tell you how long.
Interesting.
So I think it was the combination of the music and the repetitive processes of playing with the layout and stuff that helped him.
Well, that was something that I also noticed when looking up music therapy this week, was the different types. One of those types is composing. I wonder if him composing that house with that music was the combination of the two that helped him de-stress.
You know, it might be.
Yeah.
But he is sound asleep right now. I mean, sound asleep.
Until you go wake him up to look at this house.
Right.
Something else I also thought of this week was when Tim and I were first married, we had the opportunity to go to a Busch Series race. Okay, if you don't know what that is, you have NASCAR racing, which is on Sunday, and those are the big guys, are the ones that get paid the millions of dollars or whatever it is they get paid. Busch Series happens on Saturday, which is the people that are trying to work up to be NASCAR. We got to go there. We did a pit tour. We got to see the NASCAR guys practice. And, you know, Dad was a big Jeff Gordon fan, so I got a picture of Jeff Gordon practicing for him. And, you know, this whole thing, it was so cool. But then when the race actually started, I could not stay awake.
Really? The sound?
The sound. I had earplugs in and everything, and I'm sitting there going like this. on Tim's shoulder, just I'm like, I got to get up and move. I'm gonna fall asleep. I could have seriously just slept there the whole time.
Yeah, I've been, my first husband and I went to several NASCAR races. Several.
I did not know this.
Yes. Yeah, we used to go to the Coca-Cola 600 every year down in Charlotte.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that.
So you know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I was so surprised by that.
Well, I've not done that, but I have had MRIs done where you get put in the tube.
Uh,
And if that sound wasn't so loud, it would have done the same thing to me.
No,
Constant, same sound over and over and over and over and over again, but it was just too loud.
yeah.
If they would have been able to turn the decibel down on it, I probably would have gone to sleep. They gave me headphones with music, but when the machine started, you couldn't really hear the music, so it was really pointless.
I just thought of that. I just thought, well, I wonder when they started using like music with dentistry and stuff like that too.
Oh, that'd be interesting to find out.
Mm-hmm.
And like the girls, their dentists that they go to, they have every chair has its own movie screen and they have all the streaming channels and they can put whatever they want to watch.
I wonder too. Here I go again. If the surgeons will sometimes listen to music while they're doing surgery.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The different types of music, like if one of them listens to, I don't know, heavy metal or hard rock, does that patient heal as fast as somebody that listens to classical music?
I don't know.
Ooh, nobody has ever thought of that.
I mean, it might be worth looking at.
Yeah, you can go back and look at like notes, somebody's history to find that out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
You can request certain music when you go in. So, I mean, if you ever have to have surgery again, you can say, listen, I want this music and only this music. I want it to be played during recovery. Put headphones on me, set a radio beside my bed, something.
That's funny.
Well, what else have we got?
Well, the first Tibetan sound bowls were used nearly 6,000 years ago in the Himalayas, and it came about after the Chinese invasion of Tibet. The original bowls were crafted from a type of alloy crafted out of various metals that were used to create a mysterious acoustic phenomenon. While the original bowls were used in spiritual healing in Tibet, the tools quickly spread due to their unique popularity and made their way to Europe and eventually the United States. These bowls actually became popular in the US in the 1990s when interest in Tibetan culture started increasing. So
I didn't actually hear about these until more recently. And I just learned the other day that you can actually set them on parts of your body while they're resonating.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I've
There's a place here across from my dentist that does acupuncture, acupressure, massage.
Mm-hmm.
They do the Tibetan bowls, right? They do cupping.
Oh yeah.
So.
Tim and I used to get massages regularly, and the woman that we would go to would play music, and it would just be mostly tones.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd hear like a wind chime, and then it'd be like a tone, and then a wind chime. And I think it was her timing. So she'd move on to the next spot. But it was like, I think it was just the sound of those bowls making those tones.
I've got a sample of those bowls. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love them.
Just a little sample of someone doing their thing with those bowls.
Yeah, I love the sound. A lot of times when Arnie's out of town and I can't go to sleep, I will turn on somebody playing Tibetan bowls on YouTube. Let it play.
Huh.
It's very relaxing.
I wonder, because for whatever reason, when Dee Dee turned that on, I thought, I wonder what it would be like if you're hearing that and you're in the water.
Mm. Oh,
Oh,
I did hear something not too long ago. You said water. It made me think of whale song.
Yeah, I
Somebody
like
took
that.
the sound of crickets and slowed it down.
It
And
sounds like
it
a
sounds
whale.
like whale songs.
well, that's interesting. Did you
So
know that
what
if you
is
take the British accent and slow it down really slow and have longer vowels, it's a Southern accent.
the
I
Southern
was going to
accent?
say you sound like us.
Yep.
Yep.
And if you take a person who is French and they speak English, if you slow them down, they sound like the Cajuns.
Yeah. So I guess United States is just a little more laid back than Europe is.
I guess. Parts of us anyway.
Parts of us, yeah.
I've also got a sample of a Bali flute.
I'm sorry. What?
Bali, B-A-L-I.
Oh, okay.
So it's a flute that is used for sound therapy and music therapy.
The wooden flute.
Yeah. It's not really my taste, but it probably works for some people. It reminds me of those recorders that Shalon got when she was in school. Yeah.
Sounds like a bad recorder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the first instrument they give you in elementary school.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, there's probably better examples of that flute. And I actually did this like at the last minute before we were getting ready to do. So maybe I can find a better one.
That was a good idea, though. I didn't even think of including sounds like that.
Something that I discovered in doing all this research is that music therapy is, or at least it should be, culturally sensitive, because what works for one person may not work for another.
True.
And their culture may have everything to do with that.
I wonder if that's why I like the bagpipes so much.
Yeah,
We've
that's
got
what I
some
was
of
thinking too, because we like Celtic music so much. Yeah, I mean, hearing drums like that coming at you definitely elicits some fear.
Yeah, especially if you've got, if this was back as far back as the picked warriors and they're painted and they're naked
Yeah.
running toward you.
Although
Yeah, that would be,
nowadays some women
there's
would
no
probably
wonder the Romans would not go north of Hadrian's Wall.
Nobody up there has clothes on.
They were savages. So they can call them savages all they want. The Romans were scared.
And now look at us. They're doing naked cruises.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, Tim saw an advertisement for an all-nude cruise next year. I was like, no. That made me think of what last week when I referenced our CIA using certain American songs to break down prisoners of war.
Yes, yeah, psychological warfare. It can affect you. It can heal you, but it can also do just the exact opposite.
See, I wonder, because it's so interesting because the American view of music in our society is so enamored with all of these things. It's like, would that work on Americans like it works on somebody who is so delved into that type of culture?
Probably not.
I don't think
That,
so.
Yeah.
no, that I don't think would work on us. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be something else.
Yeah.
I just thought of the Friends episode where Ross is playing the bagpipes.
Oh yeah, and Phoebe's doing her.
I never watched that show, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's hilarious.
He's learning to play the bagpipes, and he's trying to play the song Celebration. Celebrate good times, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, sing along if you know it. And then Phoebe goes,
That's funny.
funny. Oh my goodness.
Like, what's your favorite movie?
I don't
Let me
have a
ask that
favorite one.
first.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I've got all kinds of movies that I like. I like The Color Purple. I like Still Magnolias. Um, Places in the Heart, I think, is a film that Stanley Field is in.
I don't know that one.
The only one of those three that I've seen is The Color Purple.
You've not seen Still Magnolias?
No.
It's sad, but happy to.
Yeah, I don't like watching movies that make me cry.
Well, it'll definitely make you cry, but it's also happy.
But you should watch it because it's definitely it has a lot of Southern things in it that you're like,
Mhm.
ah, I get it.
Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion.
I'm sorry.
Laughter through tears.
I think Dolly Parton's character says that in the film. I think.
She
Oh,
says,
laughter
what?
and tears are my favorite emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
Yeah,
then
she also
places.
said that he's so confused he doesn't know whether to scratch his watch or wind his butt.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it has the vernacular, bless your heart.
Yeah. I don't have favorites. I
Yeah, I mean, that's
gotten
why I
into the
spit
mentality
three of
of
them out.
I've gotten into the mentality of not really having a favorite because my girls, I don't want them to think that one of them is a favorite. So I try to not have favorites.
That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's take the movie Star Wars.
Okay.
Okay.
The original?
Yes, the one from 1977, Chapter 4.
Okay. A
Okay.
New Hope.
Yeah, not all this new stuff that they've put out. Would that movie have done as well without the music in it?
I don't think so. I think
I don't
sometimes the
think so either.
music makes a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah, because movies like Braveheart or Last of the Mohicans.
Not seen either one of those.
Dude, when I come up there, we're having a movie weekend.
Okay.
We're gonna I'm gonna bring you up to speed. But those movies, their soundtracks are just so recognizable. Well, to me, they are. They're so recognizable to me
Yeah.
and so moving.
Mm-hmm.
And
Look at movies that have really popular songs in them, like Titanic. That song was forever popular.
Mm-hmm. Frozen.
Frozen, yes, all the Disney movies.
let it go.
There's a girl I follow on TikTok who does soundtracks, and she plays 3 different soundtracks from a movie, and you have to try and guess it.
Oh, I know what lady you're talking about.
I don't remember her name, but yeah, I like doing stuff like that.
So music connects us to product,
Experiences.
experiences, people.
And also be nostalgic. Because I did a little thing. I said my music therapy, and I picked some songs that I like to listen to if I'm going to listen to music. That was one of them.
Okay.
Look at what they're doing now with rides too at these theme parks. With rock and roller coaster at Hollywood Studios, and they play Aerosmith during the ride.
Oh, I didn't know that they did that.
Yeah, and then there's a ride at Universal Studios where you pick your song that plays through your speakers.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what that one's called though. I have to look it up. But Rock and Roller Coaster was pretty awesome the first time I went on it. And the song that played was Sweet Emotion.
Sweet Emotion.
Here's a good one.
I like that one.
The name of that ride at Universal is called Universal Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket.
Rip, ride, rocket. Okay.
Rocket, Rockit, Rocket.
Oh, okay.
That's Dee Dee's therapy music.
That's some of them. I mean, I've got more on here that I didn't pull up. I've got a more modern one.
I don't know what I would pick. I would have all kinds of different music in there.
Yeah. It's like I have a workout playlist on Spotify that goes everywhere from Toby Mac and Capital Kings to
Alice Cooper.
yeah, and Rihanna, and you know, it's everywhere.
So anyway, I just put a few up.
You can't stop it. What is that story of that composer who would be asleep and the only way he would wake up is you would have to play a certain part of a song and then not finish it and he would get up and go finish it?
Oh, I don't know. I've never heard that.
I haven't heard it either.
Okay, hold on.
Just gotta look it up.
I do.
Did you find it, Shalon? And then I've got songs on here, not really songs, I don't guess, because to me, songs have words. Is it that way with you?
No, because Beethoven's Fifth is a song.
See, I call that music.
Well, all right, I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
For some reason, I have this distinction in my brain that songs have words, but music is just the music.
Okay.
And then some of the songs on my playlist are just music.
I guess I don't think about it too much.
I don't know when that started, to be honest with you.
I've got Mozart's Clarinet Concerto. I skipped ahead a little bit.
Sometimes when you hear classical music, do you guys think about Bugs Bunny?
Depends on what it is, but yes, sometimes.
No, I don't think of Bugs Bunny when I hear classical music.
Karen and I were first introduced to classical music through Bugs Bunny.
Yes.
Okay.
The Barber of Seville. I definitely think about Bugs Bunny. That's the one with Elmer Fudd, and I love the fact that he takes his ears and smacks Elmer in his bald head. And then let's see, there was an opera. Which opera was it? Oh, there it is. Richard Wagner's The Ring of... I can't pronounce this word. Nibelung.
Nibbling?
Nibelung? Nibelung? I don't know. The first cartoon short to be inducted into the National Film Registry of what? I hate it when they pull stuff off like that. The first cartoon short to be inducted into the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress in 1992.
Nibelung is how they're pronouncing it on YouTube.
Nibelung.
And that cartoon came out in 1957.
Just nature sounds. And again, that could be a cultural thing too, because if somebody's only been in a city and never been out in the country, that may have no effect on them.
Oh, you know what that makes me think of? A movie. What's the name of the movie? My Cousin Vinny. Yeah, Joe Pesci plays the attorney, but Ralph Macchio is the guy who's trying to get out of jail.
Oh, okay. Isn't
now Joe Pesci, when he's in the country, he can't sleep because he keeps hearing owls and coyotes and all this other good stuff, right? But whenever he's in the jail and the train is going by all the time, that's when he falls asleep.
Well, look at babies who are in the NICU. and then they come home. And then they can't go to sleep if it's quiet. And, I have so many people who have told me that they would turn the vacuum on.
It wasn't the vacuum for Megan, my youngest.
Mm-hmm.
It was a TV that was not connected to the cable. White noise.
Yeah, I went to WebMD where they talked a little bit about white noise, pink noise, brown noise. What's the difference?
I didn't know there were different.
Oh yeah, they've started naming. It has to do with like the wavelength or something, I think.
The pitch of it and stuff has to do with the pitch. And stuff there. I just glanced at it. I was thinking this might be better for next week.
Okay, we'll just save it. We're going to talk about studies, scientific evidence, research, proven results, and many of the different places that it's being used. All right. I'll talk to you guys next week. Well, I'll talk to you before then, but I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Sister Sharpens Sister. Follow us on Instagram at Sister Sharpens Sister. And join the conversation by sending us an email to sharpsistertrio@gmail.com. Talk to you later. Bye.